All right. So again, just a reminder, July 15th to 17th, that's a little, just a touch less than 7 weeks away. Um, so you can find out more if you have questions, with CMS or Sandy Vance or me. This is a virtual event. It is free. Registration closes June 30th. The agenda first day will be policy and presentations on policy and technology. Second day will be the big day for us, testing and demos. Third day will be track highlights. Um, we have two tracks, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. Transitions of care will be in the morning. Advanced healthcare directives interoperability be in the afternoon. We have the same kind of 4-hour schedule for both. Um, and the track proposals have been updated, so feel free to take a look at those and make sure that they're all up to date and they reflect everything that you think they should reflect. Um, and otherwise, I think we're in pretty good shape there. Um, let's see. We are continuing to work through sample data. I tentatively had put the deadline as June 5th. I think we'll be able to hit that. It sounds as though talking to May, and I don't know if May's on. Um, but
I'm on.
it, great, May. Do you want to give us an update on that, on the sample data?
Yeah, absolutely. So I welcome James, and if Uba's on can speak up as well. But the storyboard is basically the overall story is basically done. And there's a decent first pass at the clinical information that was meant to outline the scenes. We are currently between ensuring that we have that clinical information and the creation of the sample data itself. Right now, that's in the active phase. We have certain pieces already that has been created in that sample data that is the patient, the organizations, and the locations that are aligned with the storyboard. And I added the scene zero conditions that was originally there. There's still some refinement that needs to be done on the medication lists and supporting that transition of care. James and I did an initial chat with Terry O'Malley on the call to see if those meds at the high level were okay. And at least on first pass, it seems they are, good to use as is. We are still probably waiting for Anne-Marie Bernanke, who wanted to make some additional specifications on the RX norm codes and NDC codes related to those medications, so that she can try and exercise certain scenarios, like identifying, whether, the meds are right for indications or, some kind of polypharmacy or drug or allergy interactions. And she'd work on that this week, let us know next week. We're proceeding, I think, overall rather nicely. Um, there is to our proposed process, there actually is now a continuous integration build that people can start looking at, just at a high level, knowing that it's still a work in progress. But I don't know if you want me to share my screen, Dave, but
Yeah,
uh,
go ahead.
okay, we'll do that. Right. If you can see this,
Yep.
you'll see there's a continuous integration build of what we created, even though this is the framework is an implementation guide. You can already start seeing that we are repurposing that type of tooling for the creation of what I call a sample data depot. There, originally we had like this just crazy list of like identifiers and names, and now they're being reorganized so that you can already start seeing some of the sample data that's available. This is going to change now. I just did this change, but the idea is you can see the organizations per the types of environment, like Motor City Nursing Facility, that takes you to the direct narrative content. And you can see it as JSON, which was originally um, in the old way of GitHub that they were just in raw data, but now you've got the rendered version. And another thing that was added is, yeah, one thing is to just have the overall list. Another thing is to try and align them with the storyboard. So we're already starting to see here that there's going to be a format that more mimics like what is that data in light of the Connectathon itself. This picture is obviously going to change um, uh, to be more aligned with the Connectathon. But the text that's in each one of the scenes that's in the frozen version is down here, and we're already beginning to try and do two types of formats. I'd love to get, feedback from the users of this, for implementers, but we have two ways of representing it. One, which may be directly embedded within the story. So if we said this is our narrative with Patsy Smith Johnson, you can literally click on this and see it's now hyperlinked actively that you can go directly to her resource. And that is kind of nice in some ways to do a little bit of quality assurance at the same time while trying to see whether the clinical data matches the story for each scene. The other things, another thing too, you could see the example for Metro Hospital. And again, look at it in JSON or XML because some reference implementers like XML over JSON. It's just we provide two flavors. So if you don't like it embedded, we also have, a subsection which will identify the sample data that would be used or relevant for that background. So that way, if you're doing an inventory, you can see which ones are relevant for which scenes. Again, an improvement from the last time where it was all just in subdirectories and didn't really have any context to it. And then finally, I added this other link of downloads because some people might just want all the examples to download at once. So if you want, you can click on JSON examples and all of the examples that you would see in the artifacts that are inside the IG, including the ones that are not shown, like Jenny Mosley from January, you're able to download in a zip file. Um, that is the status of this work. Our next steps are to continue fleshing this out. We know that we have all of our pre-canned assignments pre-assigned between Brian, Michelle, and I. So we're going to keep filling out this list. I would encourage again to use chat.fire.org in the Connectathon link that Dave will probably be showing as a means of giving, in between week feedback or just ad hoc, feedback or questions on any of the sample data if you find issues with it. And I'll be monitoring that in case you need support. Um, and oh yeah, one more thing. There are we have a couple of fire servers that we have created on Meld. Yeah, let's see if I can show that. Hold on a second. And the ones that we're going to use, at least primarily for the pre-can connectathon, is this one, which is the PACIO sandbox. I will put the open endpoints. Right now they're open endpoints. We won't have the secure endpoints that are available, but we're not going to be focusing on that for the Connectathon. So it's PACIO Sandbox, which is a general one. And then there's one that Jessica requested that we add as well, which is one called CMS PQRS. And that would have several of the Dell questionnaires. Now, there are no apps. I mean, this is just basically bare bones. But you'll see that what we're going to do then is at least put whatever questionnaires we have into the sandbox. It is live, so if there are particular questionnaires like PHQ-9 or whatever we want on there, just let us know and we'll upload that. It's relatively easy to do. Okay.
Hey
Now
May, thank you so much for setting that up. That's fantastic. I did have just a process question for the sample data. Um, so
Go
I,
ahead.
I assume for scene four, because we're creating our own sample data for the ZBI questionnaire. So
Mhm.
like, do you want my team to just send it to that endpoint, or do you want me to email you the JSON for the fire questionnaire response, or what, how do you want to get our sample data integrated with your sample data? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm gonna also leave it open for Dave and others to reply. But my understanding is that that CMS PQRS was, I don't know if you want that with all the questionnaire responses. Right now, it's just originally, you could put anything you want on it realistically.
Mhm.
But from a workflow perspective, obviously to encourage transition of care, definitely post it. If you think CMS PQRS is going to have the questionnaires and the responses, then that's going to affect our workflow, right?
Mhm.
So whoever's receiving those questionnaire responses, whether it's Nancy Lush or whoever, they're going to have to know that your endpoint exists to pull it from there. Uh,
Right.
um,
So I think for this connectathon, once it gets to that fire endpoint, nobody else is going to be pulling it from that endpoint for this connectathon. I think it's just sending it.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I talked about po maybe trying to pull it with Postman or something.
I think though that would be from the practitioner's EHR, so that would be pulling it from Postman from the PACIO sandbox would be my understanding, right?
Well, if you wanted to confirm that it in fact got to the PQRS system, you
Oh,
would
I see.
Yeah.
Okay,
you would
sure.
Yeah.
just go
Yeah,
post.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know what the best flow is for you, but right now that the PASIO sandbox one originally was just meant for, I don't know, any pre-can data that could have been just other clinical information, medication lists, et cetera. It was just, kind of the placeholder for that.
Okay.
And it depends the purpose of CMS PQRS, what you wanted it to be. If you wanted it to be as a central FHIR-based repository to store both questionnaires and questionnaire responses, then yeah, I mean, have your team just continue posting on there, posting or updating or or querying however you want it. But it would just be helpful to know that you're doing that because if anyone else wanted to see the questionnaire responses, I could see like as an example within a sniff, you might want to see, oh, well, this is what they filled out. I don't, that they may want to be aware of your endpoint to know that there's content in there for Betsy Smith Johnson. So, but it does work. I mean, again, feel free to post anything on there. In fact, this is probably the only resource that's on there right now. It's pretty much a blank slate for you. And if you wanted to see all the capabilities of what it has, you could just do metadata, and that way you'll see the capability statement as well. There you go.
So,
That works for
Jessica, I
me.
have a question about when you post the questionnaire response, and you also need to post the reference on for the patient, right? And I guess the patient need to be matched with whatever other participants have. And I think that when you say you're sending your sample data, what are you thinking you're sending?
So the sample data that we're planning on sending is basically, so the ZBI questionnaire, it consists of 22 questions, and we already have that. We are adding 7 administrative data elements at the beginning that are just basically, patient first name, patient last name, date of birth, caregiver first name, caregiver last name, and the date that the assessment was completed. So that questionnaire, we're going to generate a questionnaire response with, the sample answer options to those questions. That is what we were planning on sending you. Do you need anything else?
I think what I'm imagining is you sending both to PACIO Sandbox and the CMS PQ, the sandbox may just create it for you. right?
Okay.
And then for pseudo EHR, we definitely can display the questionnaire response. And
Hmm.
for other, if Nancy come to join us, she can display as well. And when you demo it during the Connect Zone, you will definitely show when you post it to the CMS sandbox, and you would just show enough for the demo purpose.
Yes. Yeah, and I was explaining to James last night via email because we had included some kind of narrative around what would happen after that that we're not going to be demoing at this Connectathon. Like our ultimate goal someday is that, once CMS has all of this information, there are kind of internal kind of decisions they could make. There are notifications they could send back to the provider. There are algorithms they could develop to determine eligibility for different programs. And we would like to kind of explain via narrative all of those possibilities that this opens up once the information is in their system, right? But we're not actually going to demonstrate all of those functionalities in this Connectathon. We're just getting the data to them theoretically. Because then once it's at CMS, they might need to move it between systems, and there's different APIs that would need to do all of that, and that's a future problem, right? Like that's not a this Connectathon problem. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I think what I'm suggesting is because we want to create a probably the architecture topology to show we have different servers to
Hmm.
receive different response and how those different clients interact with the different servers.
Hmm. Sure.
I mean, James and Brian, and we can probably also for the ADI track, Maria, and we can thinking of the same thing. We show the system flow beside the story, right? That's helpful for the participants to understand which data we are exchanging and how the data flow between
Yeah.
different system.
Well, and we usually have that as part of the picture in the scenes, right? Like the bottom piece where it talks about the interaction of the systems and where the data is moving. So, yes, that is kind of what I was envisioning, but we're not actually going to test every single part of it, you know, this time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the other piece of this is we wanted to try to see if the personal functioning engagement could handle the ZBI.
Yeah.
So it's a
Mhm.
matter of taking that questionnaire response and breaking it up into PACIO resources under PFE. Um, so that's the other piece of this. Would not necessarily, I wouldn't think, go to the PQRS system, but it would go into the PACIO sandbox.
Right. That's why I was asking Dave, like, where do you want my team to send it? Because there is going to need to be that integrating piece that is going to be kind of on your end.
Right. So, I think probably, we'd want to have them sent to both.
Okay.
Um, I think as far as the sample data goes, the ideal situation, the ideal format to send that to us so that we can incorporate it into the sample data repository would be in um, Fire shorthand. Uh,
Yeah, I'll talk to them about that. May said it was okay if I just send a JSON.
okay,
So,
yeah, no, we can convert it from JSON to Fire shorthand, so
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah,
fine too.
we can do
But
that.
I think going forward, particularly if this, we think this will work really well, and I think May has put together a good structure for it. Um, we'd like to continue to work within that framework. So that
I
means,
just need to talk to them. I know that everything that they've supplied to me so far that I have ever seen is in JSON. I don't know if they also do things in Fire shorthand and that's no big deal for them, or if they would have to learn how to do that like from scratch. So I just need to talk to the team about that. I don't know.
I
yeah, whoever did the IG, I'm drawing a blank at the moment, but that was based off of M code. You know, I know that there were people there
Okay.
doing that kind of, they have fire shorthand a bit.
So
What?
this is the same people, so theoretically they should already know how to do that, but I will talk to them and confirm.
Okay, cool.
And as one of part of the integration test, Jessica, once you are able to send to the PACIO sandbox, and probably we can try a query by the patient ID
Mhm.
for the questionnaire, right? Make
Yeah.
sure we are using the same, at least we can find the patient and find the questionnaire response you sent.
Yes. Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. Yes. So the patient benefit or the Medicare beneficiary ID is one of those seven administrative fields that we're adding to the top. Is that what you use to match?
Sorry, what was the question again?
Uh, the Medicare beneficiary ID, that is one of the administrative data elements that we're adding to the top of the questionnaire. Um, is that something that you can use to match? Yolanda said some kind of ID. I was confirming it is the Medicare
Yeah.
beneficiary ID.
Yeah, I mean, you can, well, you know, certainly within the sandbox, you can reference we can reference the patient directly. You could
Okay.
theoretically could do it even across systems. Um,
I think this is a real scenario test of sent to search the patient sent by different system. So,
Mhm.
and may I guess questions for the Betsy in our sample data? Do we have a beneficiary ID? I think if we match
Um,
with whatever Jessica is using, that's what
we
we can find.
we don't, but it's an easy addition. I
Yeah,
Okay.
mean,
yeah,
so right now the only ID we have is a medical record number, but it's just an additional one. And I think it was, I don't remember this for enhancing oncology model,
Mhm.
where the Medicare beneficiary ID was one of the things that should have been sent. And for us, that's just a simple addition of another identifier as long as you have the code system for.
yeah. I think we
Is
need to add
is that right
that.
there? The next line down, May? Medicaid, Medicare?
Oh, it is. Yeah, actually, you're right.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe we can just send it to Jessica. Make sure
Yeah.
her team is using this ID so we can find her.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely. I can.
the best thing is just to have a direct reference. So that way you don't have to look it up by ID.
What do you mean direct reference? Make it the
Right,
fire ID? That's just not a good idea. That's not good practice.
right. Because it's created by different system.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a transitional ID, right? In fact, if people do posts, right? If you
That's
post
fine.
a new patient, right? It will the fire a fire server will assign its own ID. It would overwrite it. So ideally, if we wanted something realistic, all the implementers, maybe that's it might be a concern for Nancy's system, but all of the systems should be almost having this patient matching algorithm by the identifiers that are relevant to their system. So, if there is a patient resource, then it ideally, like with a master patient index, there would be this holder of all of the identifiers that make sense for Betsy Smith Johnson. It would include Medicare, the MRN, there might be several MRNs, right? Um, and uh, and each of those systems would do a query for the patient based on first name, last name, and an identifier that's relevant to their system.
Right. So the question then would be, so that's fine. We can do it this way too. But when you're sending it to the PQRS system, are you sending putting a patient in there as well?
Yes.
Okay. Then that would work. Then that would be fine. The other thing is if you're just sending the assessment and the assessment could reference a patient in another system that, that is our, you know, gold source.
Yeah, no. So the questionnaire that we're sending, that's what I was saying, is going to be the 22 questions that are the questionnaire, and
Hmm.
then plus seven like administrative data elements meant to identify the patient with whom that questionnaire is associated. So it's going to
Okay.
be the patient's first name. I will need, can somebody send me whatever you're using as Betsy's date of birth? We need to make sure that matches too.
Yeah, in fact, here is that's the It's a nicety of this method and process.
Yeah.
Because then now you can look at it right directly. And this is what it, right? This is
Okay.
her date of birth. Oh,
Jessica, you need bookmark this URL
Yes, I'm
for the
gonna
next
pull
3 weeks
that
at least.
up. Hold on.
no, yeah, that's it. Yeah. And thank you, James, for pointing out this is our Medicare number.
Unless we change the ID, in which case it'll be different.
So is
Oh,
that which one's the Medicare beneficiary ID?
I dropped it in the chat.
Okay, great. Ah, okay, so that's all right. Cool.
And I'll drop the date of birth too.
Yeah, I think James and May probably we should send the same information to all the participants and make sure they're using the same ID. I guess that's a given, but just
just
let's
keep
make
in
sure.
mind, not
Yeah.
fire ID.
Now fire ID. Yeah, make sure it's just
Yeah.
like a Medicare
Yeah, it's not
beneficiary
a,
ID.
yeah, it's not realistic to be doing queries on
Mm.
fire IDs ideally. If we want to make this realistic, it's not a good way to do it.
So I need to double check what the criteria, but is that number consistent with like uh the like I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the word, like the constraints of a Medicare beneficiary ID, like it's the same number of characters, it's like
The
is that
valid ID.
a
Mm.
valid ID? Yes, is
Yeah,
the
it's a
answer.
valid ID.
And James,
Yeah.
by the way, I think this is the one, Maria, I think this was the date of birth that you wanted, right?
Oh, I'm
No, I
sorry.
had
No, I
November
grabbed it out of the sample
15th of
data in my group.
1950.
I'm sorry?
11/15 of 1950.
Correct. So this is correct. That is not the
Yeah,
date.
mine is not. I grabbed it out of the sample data that I had in my screen, and that
Okay,
is not right.
okay. Give me a heart attack.
Okay.
Sorry. It's a versioning issue. I apologize.
If you do MPI, right, which is a little bit truer to reality, then you have key certain elements that you want for the uniqueness of a patient. And that would include, first name, potentially last name, not even as interesting, but date of birth and some kind of stable ID. And then to your question, Jessica, I don't know what the right format is for Medicare. This is the one that was in September.
Okay. Let
So
me
it's
double
not,
check. Because I think that's the part we want to be consistent on. And if it's no big deal, if that is not consistent, maybe we could create one that is consistent with Medicare beneficiary ID, uh, like, the realistic like value. Does that make sense?
Yep.
yeah,
hmm
yeah. Yeah, I would defer to, everyone else, but I think you're the only one that has that need for a precise Medicare number. Um, so if you change it to something else, I don't think it'll impact anybody.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
Anything else?
So can we go through some of these records? Do we have time to go through some of these records? Because I'm not quite sure my test data is aligned with you guys's, and I thought we were going to try to keep as much as possible.
hmm
So I just
Yes, definitely want to do
yeah,
that. Definitely want to make sure that we have our sample data
okay.
aligned.
Mhm. So what would you
All
like to
right.
start with, Betsy?
Yeah, let's take a look at Betsy. So what have we got? We've got a Medicare number. Got it. You've got her. I bet that phone number is not going to fly.
It has to be legitimate phone number.
Well, I don't know about that. I'll see if it'll work. Yeah, you guys, this is legit data. I mean, I can't remove some of the edits
Mhm.
just because we just thought we'd make something up. I wish I could, but I can't.
Mhm.
Some of these edits are pretty strong, but I'll see what I can do. We may have to change the phone number. I'll let you guys know.
Okay. Yeah, and no worries. And that's
Uh,
why, again, to this process, that's while we have, James and Uva making sure that, as facilitators, it aligns with the needs of, the participants. So,
Well, also,
All
as
right.
you
And
know,
we've got
as we go more and
two
more
phone
towards,
numbers.
go ahead.
Yeah, what are the two phone numbers? Why do we have two?
because I think, let's look, but this is a home phone, so it could be that with the telecom, there could be a different type.
Okay.
It just says phone and it's not qualified, so we could qualify it if you want to something else, mobile, or just remove it entirely.
I think I can qualify them as well. I just need to know what's what. So we're attending the 555 to be home, and we're attending the 410 to be mobile. Is that her mobile
Oh, I
number? Is
mean,
that the intended
it's
one?
whatever you want. It's not, yeah, it's not specified. So if you want, it's a very simple fix. Just let me know what you'd like it to be.
Okay. No, I think
A 410
I'll,
Baltimore.
yeah, I'll mark it mobile and see if I have a problem with that. I think it's fine. And then for our boy Charles, he is the same address. Okay, beautiful. All right, and then let me do phone is 555 453-2699. Okay. And that'll be his home number.
Yes, that's the idea is that if they all live at home, they have the same home phone.
Yeah. So the 555 is a fictional area code. 410 is Baltimore. So it's
Oh,
kind
we
of,
should change that, I guess, but just make it a, I don't know, what is it,
Oh,
3,
yeah.
2?
Yeah, because if you look at the phone numbers, I've got 555 for Betsy, 410 for Betsy, 555 with a different phone number for Charles,
Right.
and then,
How about we change it all to 312, which is all Detroit area? Is that fair? Uh, does anyone have any issues with that?
I have
that's
no
fine
issues.
for me. And that's the home number?
And it'll be for mobile as well if you want. We'll just make it everything. That way everyone knows it's all Detroit. Uh,
And then are we going to change Charles's number, or are we going to leave that as his mobile number? I mean, it's not a big deal. I just need to know what to use.
Yeah. Um, uh, yeah, maybe I'm just being too nice about it. It just has two
I don't think
numbers.
we should complicate this. Just have
Yeah, it doesn't
one
really.
number per person.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. It just doesn't.
We're not
Yeah.
trying to test the patient resource. So
Yeah, it's not, I mean the phone number variations, unless you're doing some kind of application that is doing legitimate texts, or you have it in your, note to text or something like that. I wouldn't use, even mobile. Just
yeah, I
really
wouldn't.
just
Yeah, I'm
keep
not even sure that
calling.
I. Yeah, I'm not even sure I would use the 312 because some of these may actually be numbers of people.
Yeah,
So
the
might
subscriber
be.
number is bogus with 555.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, but
Yeah.
let's.
So whatever it is we choose, I need a home number for Betsy. We can have the same home number for Charles and Lisa.
Mhm.
And then if you want to make different mobile numbers, that's fine, but that's not the way what you're showing looks right now.
Sure. So, happy to change that. Uh, um, yeah, I'll remove the second number and it'll just be, you know, 555, right? If you'd like. Um,
Okay, which one will be 555?
just home. There
Uh,
won't be a
the-
second number on any of them.
okay, and they'll all have a 555 area code, or
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to take out the mobile because I need to get this over to the team. God, that brown guy's out and the dogs are just having a freaking party. Uh, delete phone for Charles. Yeah, because we're setting up a new test instance so I don't deal with versioning issues.
Mhm. And I'll remove for Charles all second numbers.
Mhm.
Um, and let's see. Charles has only one anyway. And Lisa does as well. Although it's not qualified, so if you want, we'll just give them all the same home phone. Is that work for you?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to have to throw a mobile number in there just to validate the email that comes through because it's a mobile app, and then I'll be able to remove it.
Oh, would you like an email address? We can do that.
I actually have email addresses, and I can use the email address and just, so I have a mobile app, so it requires multi-factor authentication.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to use a real number or a real email, but I can obscure it once I've authenticated.
Okay, then not a problem. Just give me the email that you want to put in there and it'll be added into the sample.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'll go through and build it with live emails, and then
Mhm.
if I need to, well, I don't know what we'll do. I'll see what I can get away with and circle back with you guys.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, so and thank you for bringing this up as but that's what I said the things that I was showing were from September, and we knew that as applications were improving and having more capabilities that there might be more information that's needed. So if this is like right now, I think this is actually my bad. If you want 555, we can use this number um, for Betsy Smith Johnson's home. That will be the same for everyone, but just give me an email for Charles and Lisa Johnson.
Okay.
Okay.
Did we just change direction on that phone number? Because I just got my sheet updated with the 555-555-5555.
My bad. I know we are going around in circles because there's
Okay.
wanted something realistic, and then there's also a couple of things that I'm finding here from quality that I needed to probably change. So what I would recommend, if that's okay, is here's all the numbers that we're being asked to write for sample data. I'll put this inside the link, and you should have visibility into this spreadsheet. If you're not happy with any of them, let me know. But this is what we'll work off of. Um, Now,
Okay,
Charles,
just give me a link to that document, and then
yeah,
I'll let you know if there's any problems.
okay. Okay, that sounds good because I want to be respectful of the process as well and the work that our facilitators have worked on. So, okay.
All right, so we've got Betsy, Charles, and Lisa figured out. Can we take a look at the Motor City Nursing Facility and Dr. Onko or Margaret Reynolds?
Well, the people we're still working on, but I can show you the organizations. So the organizations, we have Metro Hospital. This is Metro Hospital's number. This is their address.
Okay, I don't think I've got the hospital in my ADI, so I think I'm not a speed bump on
Oh,
that.
all right. This is the primary care. Oh, that's not the right one. Hold on a second. This is the update. Okay. This is a nursing facility.
Okay, stay there. Okay, you guys did not use the previous address. Okay. All right, let me fix it. 18051
And let me look at
Mac
this.
Avenue. Where'd you go?
Yeah, yeah, here. Here.
Okay. Don't move something for a minute. I'm trying to copy. 48224. Okay, that's fine. I can use that for the nursing facility.
Mhm.
And then who are the practitioners that we have?
Again,
We've
those,
got somebody to do the portable medical order and then somebody to be a facilitator.
yeah, so those are currently still in progress. But what I will do is give you the link to let's see, to the list of people, um, and you can see where they are.
And that's on that Google Docs.
It is on the Google Doc and the spreadsheet called People.
Hmm.
Um, once these practitioners are completed, I think it will unblock me for many other things. But right now, we're currently working on them. Um,
So I had 2 rounds of ADI done at the Motor City Nursing Facility. Do you guys, so I had Excel row, oops,
oh,
go back
why
down.
is this Marina Reynolds?
I don't know, but I had, go up just a little bit.
Yeah, why is
Oh,
this?
that
Go
question
up.
came up yesterday, Marina Reynolds. I think her name had changed from a previous data set. I believe that's why that cell is highlighted because there was a question about the correct name to use.
Yep, I had Margaret Reynolds, but again, I'm building everything from scratch.
Think,
So if I need to change it, I can. I had Dr. Onko as the signing practitioner and Margaret Reynolds as the facilitator. If I need to switch out those names, now's the time to do it because I've got to start to get these built.
yeah, I think that was one of the things we need to coordinate on. If you go over to the right, May, I think there's an explanation of that name is an existing uh, person.
Margaret Reynolds is a real person. I
Yeah.
think
No, no, it's just
not a real,
previous test data.
yeah. I wonder about this. If
So
I mean,
it was
think
just up
about
for
people
discussion.
named
If you
John
want to
Smith,
press ahead, that's
right?
fine.
So we probably need to have, in some respects, if you we could change our process overall so that rather than having somewhat realistic sounding names, you could follow a convention where, I mean, it doesn't look as real, but it has to be so out there that it's likely you're not going to find like a Donald J. Duck, right? The If you want it real, then you have to make sure their identifiers are absolutely bogus because it doesn't matter if there's another Margaret Reynolds. They did the same thing with Anita Chu. They're like, oh, Anita Chu exists in AMA. It doesn't matter if there's another Anita Chu. What matters is that there is a bogus NPI number.
Yeah, that's what I need to hinge on. I need to hinge on the Motor City Nursing Facility. I'll have to relate the practitioner and the facilitator to the right org. And then the NPIs that I had from before were fake. And then phone numbers and that type of thing. So I need to make sure the identifiers
Mhm.
are where they need to be.
Yeah, so the identifiers, and I'm just going to give you an example on this one. Uh, yeah, we do have to ensure that we're coordinating with identifiers, to your point, and practitioner role. There is to have a higher quality data, so that the IG doesn't flip out. Like what Jessica mentioned with Medicare beneficiaries, NPI numbers need to have a very specific number. You can't just make them 555. They have to align with something called the Loon algorithm. And it's some kind of checksum, digit that's at the end. So the ones that we give, as long as they're aligned, have to kind of align with that checksum algorithm. So you can't, if um, maybe what we could do is this obviously is old, right? Because the address for Nita Chu seems to be patient-centric solutions. It could be that that got added in September because it was more realistic back in September. But if there is a number that and email, Maria, that you're having to drive, your application and Anita Chu is important, then give me a one that you could use, right? So that way it's not patient-centric solutions. Or I can add another
Yeah,
one. I can add two, actually. I have many, right? So,
well, I left Dr. Chu and Dr. McDuff off of this one. Not that I can't copy paste them down in there. I had Dr. Onco and Margaret Reynolds as my two care team members. Do I need to swap them out?
no, no. I mean, well, it's up to how James and Uba are organizing this, but this is the current understanding is that there is a Dr. Onco, Hema Onco, right, that you see here. And which one was
Yep.
the other one, Maria?
The orange one.
And Margaret Reynolds. So, you know, uh, I don't know, James, if you want to talk about with Uber and see what you would prefer, because I'm not privy to that discussion that changed this name. But if we, just coordinate as to what you'd prefer and we'll make the change.
Okay. Yeah, I'll double check. I think as long as folks are comfortable with having somebody, I think the thing that Uber was checking was practitioners in that area, not just across the whole country. But
Yeah.
if you're comfortable with that name being the same as somebody else's, as long as it has a different NPI, I think we should
Yeah.
press
Like in
forward.
this case, just to resolve it, I think I added a middle name to Anita, right? So it's Anita Marie Chu. Um, but again, it doesn't even matter. Ideally, it's the NPI number that makes them unique.
Um, Maria, did you have a set of information that you're working from that you can share back with us so we can try to coordinate as closely as possible?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
She
I
sent us,
sure did.
yeah, she
Oh,
sent an email address of the
okay, yeah,
of the
the email.
providers and the practitioners and the locations. That's how we got the
Okay,
organizations, right?
yeah, I thought that
Right.
was something else, but we
Yeah, so I
can.
already changed the address on the Motor City Nursing Facility because I thought we were going to recycle the names of one of the previous providers and just, who cares if it's Michigan Oncology, we'll just change the name. But that's fine. I can go with the address that you've got here,
Okay.
the 18051 Mac Avenue. My grandson thanks you. His name is Mac. And then if the doctors are Hema Onco and Margaret Reynolds, that's fine. I've got an NPI that passed muster last time. If we need to change that and the phone number, I just need to know. And I'll probably need a specialty because we do link to taxonomy codes for the specialty.
Okay.
And for Margaret Reynolds, I've got a Michigan license number.
hmm Yeah. And that's another thing too that we probably want to be adding, and I'll be happy to do that if you'd like, Maria. But these roles, ideally should have a healthcare provider taxonomy number.
Yeah,
Uh,
we'll have it in the file.
okay. Okay. Because I know for ADI, that's important for us, right?
Yep, yep. Yeah, so what I'll do, I'll when I create the email today for the team, I'll run it past you guys first so
Okay.
that we can make any changes that we need to. And then my team will go off and build the back end data. And I really don't want to irritate them and have them touch it twice. So
Yeah.
let's make sure we're firm, and then they'll build the back end data and I can start keying in documents and uploading handwritten documents.
Sounds great.
Okay.
And just in case you guys want to know, I am actually going to have to build entities, but I don't know that you need to. for the witnesses?
Uh, yeah, that's a good point. I mean,
Wait,
whatever.
aren't the witnesses in this spreadsheet on the
They're at
bottom
the
row?
bottom.
Which I know because they're
Um,
on Meta builds. Apologies for the delay. I got pulled away for something kind of time sensitive presentation I gave at the PACIO meeting yesterday, but these are coming very soon.
Yeah. Are these your witnesses, Maria?
yeah, but those are the witnesses. The original address that I had for them was really, really close to where Betsy lived. Because logistically, it made sense to me that, okay, she's going to have people really nearby. Since we changed Betsy's address, I wonder if I need to change the address for the witnesses.
So are your addresses Washington based or Michigan based?
So mine's Michigan
Again.
based, but Betsy's address got changed.
Oh,
So
yeah, and that's also Michigan based. It's just you're saying that you want them in proximity, like within a mile, right?
yeah, and I can just double check it. I'll Google map the
Mhm.
new address you guys have for her and see if it's just feasible. It's not that big a deal, but every single change is death by a thousand cuts. So
Mhm.
I'm trying to recycle as much of the old data as we can, but if it all needs to change, then I just need to know now.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. That's why we're starting so early. We recognize that especially for implementers like my directives, the telecom information, the proximity and the geographic location is very important. So it's good that we're having this discussion now and not in late June. So, all right.
Anything else? All right. Any blockers? Anybody have any blockers other than, sample data and things like that?
No, Jess, did you have any issues with that Medicare number? Usually your Medicare number is your SOCH plus A, B, C, D, or Z.
So that's not what our validation protocol says, but let me triple check. It might have been that it was something and then they instituted new things, but people already had one. It was grandfathered. I don't know. Let me triple check. But let's just make a note that we're gonna make sure that whatever it is that the current Medicare beneficiary ID like criteria are, that we're gonna align with that and pick
Cool.
some number that represents that.
All right, that's cool. I care
So the
differently what it is. I just want to make sure it'll fit into my validator too.
Sure. I know it's 11 digits. It's just there's some
Mhm.
additional specifications about because it's alphanumeric and like which characters are which.
Yeah, I was poking that at that while we were meeting, and it does not meet the format that you pointed to, Jessica. So if we want to update that, I can
Yeah,
make one that should validate. I'll ask you to run it through your system to make sure it does.
right.
Um, so,
That sounds good.
okay, thanks.
All right. Anything else? Any blockers?
So yeah, I see. Hi, Brittany. I see you are here. I'm just wondering who will be participating from the Washington State.
Yeah, we'll be participating with the Washington Health Summary application.
Oh, cool. Is there anybody from the Delta team going to join us for the Thursday meeting?
Hopefully Justin can join the upcoming ones.
Oh, okay.
He traveled to Madrid for the Connectathon and then has been out for a few weeks, but he should be able to come to the upcoming ones.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Thank you for covering that.
What were you guys displaying at the Connectathon in Spain?
The international patient summary.
Okay, cool. All right, then. Any last minute things? We've got 3 minutes left. If If not, I will give people those 3 minutes.
Well, let me take 1 minute just to say this is an incredible piece of work you guys are doing, and I don't know if anyone else is doing it. So kudos to the team. Nice job.
Oh, thank you so
Oh,
much.
thanks, Terry.
That
Appreciate that.
really is a team effort. I mean, everyone on this call has a direct input into what we're creating right now. So our artifacts are a reflection of your needs and your input. So thank you all.
Definitely lots of work. Even with we are streamlining the process. It's still lots of work and the coordination. Thank you all.
Yeah, well, it just shows the complexity. And the thing is as we get more, more and more production level software involved, there things like addresses, phone
Yeah.
numbers matter.
Yep.
Email addresses, so it puts a lot more. And Maria is certainly highlighting those things. So appreciate that.
Yeah, master patient indexes. We should probably have one in a future TOC.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I wish I didn't have these live validations to trip you guys up. I'm really sorry, but
But that's what we want.
We got to deal with that.
Okay.
We got to deal with that.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good problem. Yeah.
Otherwise, we're hand waving. So
Yeah.
I know. Well, not that we haven't ever done that, but I'm just saying.
Well, it's a model. So as they say, all models are wrong. Some are useful.
That's right. All right.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
everybody. Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.